Julian?
Yeah.
Heard you got a new job.
Yeah.
Switch teams.
Yeah. About I don't know, a month and a half now, I believe.
How long had you been planning that, Slapperoo?
It's an opportunity came up and I took it. Yeah.
So from TMO, I was putting in your from TMO to Army Housing. What exactly is your new role at Army Housing?
Technically, I'm an engineering technician. I'll be doing inspections, the work for like environmental type work mostly. Yeah, and the new construction as well.
So what about like so on the Army Housing side?
On the Army Housing side, yeah.
And what did you do previously on the TMO side?
I was the maintenance supervisor for the environmental work.
So you're doing the same thing essentially, but you're now in
more on the inspection, on providing oversight for the projects at the parks worked on.
So all of the toilets that they know are leaking, who will be taking care of that? You? You'll be overseeing that?
I'll be doing the inspections of the work has been started or completed. It depends on what phase it is. Yeah.
Will you guys be going systematically through and repairing all those so what happened to the other families doesn't happen anymore?
If that needs to be done, yes.
Well, you guys, you know it needs to be done.
So there'll be yes.
You have a lot of houses. What, 20? How many are in the portfolio?
24 or so, 22, 200.
100, yeah. Okay.
So the same one that's been
Different members on different companies. So they specialize on like people and stuff like that. More, they have a different system that they use. He'll explain everything.
okay. So we were looking to get a feel for what they were planning on, and then actually get like a plan in writing if they wanted to use it. This point, I think it might be a little bit late for it, just because we haven't, between the traps that we were putting inside and the ones that were outside, we haven't seen any on the inside for a little bit, like about a week. And so, we'll see. We just want to make sure it's something they can help with, that we're taking a look at it. We're just trying to weigh the privacy thing versus actually needed at this point. We're more concerned about any sort of cleaning that has to go on at the walls, like why that's taking longer, why we have to wait that 3-week period.
Which typically just needs to see that there's no building activity or minimize, because you can go in there and put everything back and then still having the same issue.
I'm sorry, you cannot be here. You absolutely cannot be here. You have already entered my home and violated my personal property and taken no personal accountability or responsibility for that. So unless you're going to come and issue me a personal apology, you do not need to be here.
Well, he's here with me.
Okay, he cannot come in my home. Period. Full stop.
I agree with that. Based off on damaging property, which you can say wasn't intentional, I can't tell you what it was. So I'm going to put my foot down with that too. You can say if it's going to disrupt anything, you can stay in earshot of what's going on, but you're not coming inside.
So, Julian, you're the Army Housing representative
Correct.
and a former Parks employee.
Correct.
When did you terminate your employment with the Parks?
I don't know the date, but it's approximately about a month and a half now.
So, October 2023?
Yes.
And you're now an Army Housing employee?
Correct.
Okay. And then Jose Valdez, sir, I apparently go by Joe. Everybody calls you Joe. I didn't know that. Mr. Valdez, you were previously Julian's boss at TMO until up to a month ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And now your job is to oversee Mr. Jose Valdez's Joe's work.
to
on the Army
to
side.
inspect on the Army side to inspect the work that's being completed and that's done to satisfaction.
Okay.
Not necessarily him, but the projects that are going on.
So previously, you would have been under Jose,
Correct.
and somebody would have overseen the work on the Army housing side. Who would have been who was previously doing your job on the Army housing side?
Most of the people are still there. Teresa, Lisa, Richard, any Army housing employees that have done the same inspection as what I'm doing now.
So then what's the difference of an environmental, and like you said, you're an environmental engineer?
No, engineering technician.
Engineer. So that's what Teresa and Elisa and Richard are? They're all
No,
engineering
they all have
technicians?
different titles.
I'm just trying to figure out how this shell game works. Because once you move, like Teresa, she was at TMO, she was the leasing, she was the community director, and then she moved over to Army Housing. And then Elisa Clemente, what was she? She's at TMO. Elisa Clemente used to work at TMO as well.
I believe it was the leasing side as well.
Also on the leasing side. So then she comes over. I know she's overseeing TMO's work. I know Julian Venangus, you were on the maintenance side.
Correct.
And now you're over on the Army Housing side. But does the Army Housing side have a maintenance side, or it's just all Army Housing?
It's all Army housing.
I wonder if Richard used to work over there too, at TMO. Apparently Oscar's the only one who's never worked for you guys before. Doesn't mean that he won't every time. Jose, you got any plans?
And
Yeah, you switch teams. It seems like everybody's jumping ship.
where is the best opportunity for our employees?
No, I meant like to you. Are you gonna?
Oh, going over there?
Yeah, you're gonna do.
I don't think so.
So once an employee goes from TMO over to AHO, do they still have access to everything that they used to as a TMO employee? Did you guys put up like a wall, like you stopped communicating, or is it just all professional, or?
We communicate if it's regarding the units and residents. What needs to be done.
Jose, what role does Mr. Veccarezza play here? Like today specifically for this inspection, what role is he playing?
Yeah.
What role is Mr. Veccarezza playing?
He's just here with me.
Do you need him here? Because he's menacing.
He's
And
gonna go into the house.
you know what? I feel very uncomfortable with him even here. So, Julian, if you're the Army housing representative, are you aware of Mr. Veccarez's behavior?
I am not.
Okay, so he intentionally destroyed our personal property on our moving day out of the other house. He was nasty and disrespectful multiple times on camera to me, never issued an apology, and took no responsibility for his behavior. Now he's standing here in a very menacing manner, and I do not feel safe. If my husband wasn't here right now, I would be in sheer terror because this man is terrorizing. He's making me feel very uncomfortable. So if you're my Army housing representative, what can you do to make sure that I as a resident feel safe? Because I don't. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's not how a normal human behaves. If somebody does something wrong, you say, I'm sorry, or I didn't mean to at the very least. He could at least throw it back on me and say, I didn't mean to do that. He could say whatever, but he didn't. He just stands there menacing. It's unacceptable. Thank you, Joe. Mr. Valdez. Like literally anybody else from Army housing. Like you guys have Jose Hernandez, Jose Alvala, Timo, all nice guys. Derek, Drew, Brian, literally anybody but him. So Dan, if you weren't here right now, that's the type of menacing behavior that I am subject to and have been repeatedly. I've shown that to multiple other maintenance workers to ask, is this acceptable behavior? What would happen if you did this? Every single one of your employees said, what the heck? We would be, I would have lost my job. I'd have lost my job. That's unacceptable. Why does that man still, not only, I don't really care that he still has a job. I'm not an advocate for firing people. Why was he allowed to come back to my house? Who is protecting residents? You don't know that I don't have a history of trauma and that kind of abuse and mistreatment wouldn't cause an issue for somebody? You don't know what any of these women who stay home alone have to deal with? That's terrorizing, and it's not okay. And I do appreciate you that day showing me your identification, Mr. Valdez, because you set the standard to show him that it wasn't okay for him to behave like that. And he started to get in line. But even still, silence isn't. Silence is protecting somebody who's perpetuating abuse. It's not standing up for people who are in the wrong, who are being wrong. And you both see that. That was wrong. I was standing right outside when he did that. You can see it on the time of the cameras when it happened. Like, Dan, I'm physically shaking. And if you weren't here, I'd be by myself, trying to defend myself, trying to figure out why he's here. He probably wouldn't have even left, and they would have said, oh, she's just being hysterical, she whatever, because you're not here to stand up for me. Well, because he just stood there menacing, like he didn't announce what he was here for. He didn't state his intentions. He didn't say, I'm sorry. You don't even have to issue an apology. Just say something. Like, that's not a normal human reaction. If a woman is saying, like, I don't feel comfortable, I feel unsafe. You don't just continue standing there in silence. You don't just keep standing there maintaining your posture with a spread leg, wide stance. This is why I want to move, and I'm trying desperately to get out of here. If leaving this residence was a financial option for me, I would already be gone. I don't feel safe in my own home when there's men like Alex in our neighborhood who violated my privacy, damaged my personal property, and then are allowed just to come right back up to my... That man has a master key to this house. That man at any time could walk right into this house. How would you, like, if I was your sister, what would you say to me to assuage my fears? Because if that's his behavior, I don't know that he's not going to come back in the middle of the night. I don't know that he's not going to come back with a baseball bat and hit me in my sleep. None of us know what he's capable of. Hi, nice to meet you. Good morning.
We haven't had any class inside SLAPP and anything like that. Okay. So, are you guys still hearing that? I haven't heard them at all.
Behind the fridge, in the wall behind the fridge is where they're the most active.
Gotcha. And when did you guys first start seeing or hearing activity?
Well, the first time, what was the date on the cable? It was...
The cable got chewed through on the 6th of October. AT&T, our Wi-Fi, this is how it all started. Our Wi-Fi went out,
Okay.
and AT&T was dispatched because they said it was an externally cut line.
Okay.
So they came, they did a box check, and then they opened the exterior box there that's sealed, so rodents aren't getting in through there. And they found all the wiring had been chewed through, and had been chewed through in the internal, inside the internal walls.
Gotcha. Okay.
Inside the walls.
Gotcha.
They replaced the wiring and said that there's a mess, there's droppings, urine. I mean, it was pungent when they opened it, so it had been there a while.
That's what it started. That was beginning of October. Sometimes everything was piled up and problems going on here. How long before that?
Okay.
We had seen them, even whenever we were moving in, we would
Yeah.
realize it was a problem like that.
We have one of those Roombas that automatically cleans, so I don't think we were tracking how bad it was until we started tracking how bad it was.
Is that box still over here? Is it untouched? And
Uh-huh.
They got a couple spots inside, but really put it up so you can see it.
I mean, the big thing obviously is something that we can say now or rat or whatever, you know, primarily we care about just finding out how to get in and out. Once that's all noted and sealed up.
They put a vent on that dryer.
Yeah, I was looking at that, yeah.
That was just recent. Maybe the second time they came out.
Yeah, good.
And then there was a hole in the attic, in one of those attic vents.
Yeah.
And
just
they
on just like one of these straight up ones?
Yeah, like on the other side of the stairs. They patched that about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Because they did an attic inspection and said they didn't find anything, but then we came out and found there had been wires that had been dug in and out.
Yeah.
And originally you were told by a TMO employee that those were like DirecTV type lines, but it was weird how they were just poking out randomly of one, especially considering all the telecommunications that's in here.
Yeah, yeah.
So when the first time that case came off, the smell of urine and everything was so strong, but they open it now twice a week, and they have for the last 6 weeks, so it's a little bit aired out, but.
Nobody's back later tonight, so I wouldn't worry about restricting traps or anything.
Okay.
So that's what it looked like when
No, but the traps have been triggered more times than not. And we're
how what you're seeing there is what it looks like when they opened it up the first time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I would maybe ask them, you know, I don't know if you're going to get a clean touch with that, because every time it's going to trigger, it's going to hit something, and it's not. So maybe like a glue board or something in here might be better.
Okay.
It's just with the door closing. Did Western happen to do anything significant, like a week or two ago, and then you guys stopped hearing noises? I mean, is there a possibility?
You know, I think it was the same thing, it's just a disaster where I was actually us moving.
Yeah,
around.
he caught most of them.
You know, they were putting out traps at the first week that they did it, they got a bunch of them inside the garage, just like they were squeezing through different places in the garage, and so they had traps on the inside along the walls there. They've gotten a few of them also in this back wall. We can show you, we can open up the garage, show you where they most were. Anyway, point was, initially got a whole bunch right there. After that, had gone like a few weeks, hadn't seen any. We started to see signs inside, like there were droppings in the windowsills and different things. So we had moved traps around just to try to catch them at night. We got a few more doing that, and then after that, after we'd gotten a few, we hadn't seen any for about a week. Hadn't seen any for about 2 weeks since we got that last one. And then,
They're inside.
yeah.
The morning after Halloween.
So that was the time we got the last one, so that was just us moving around the traps at night. But then since then it's been more the same. It's been getting more outside, but as far as inside there hasn't.
We have found some droppings, but then there's debate about, are they fresh droppings, are they old droppings? But they're like up on, like underneath the TV.
Gotcha.
Like last Thursday when Western Exterminators was here, I always look and it's like back under the TV, and we clean that every time. So it's like, if it was on the floor and it didn't get caught, it's like, okay, maybe it was caught in a gully or something, but up on surfaces.
Yeah, no, totally.
You need anything else?
No, I just wanted to take a look just to see the feces. Well, let's take a look at the garage.
Okay.
I mean, rodent infestations are pretty unique as where, you know, they don't need to have a bunch of openings that could just be coming in from one. Is the garage is attached to this building?
Mhm.
It's right over there on the side we go through that way.
They keep, Western Exterminators in its notes keep putting in that I leave the door open for the kids to play, which isn't true, because I work all day.
Yeah.
And so does my husband. And so as soon as we get home and the exterminators come, they say, can you open it? Sure, we open it, and then it's open. and the kids are playing,
Yeah.
but they're here, so they keep putting in their notes that we're leaving it open. It's like, well, we have to be able to open this to get in and out and to like utilize it, but we
Yeah.
don't leave it open. Plus, it's so cold, we wouldn't leave it
You know,
open.
the big thing about this is the garage doors left open as long as it's not early in the morning, late in the
Yeah.
evening kind of thing, you know?
No.
Is there any way we could actually go in the garage, pop it open, and then close it? So we can kind of look from the outside or inside out?
You mean once you go inside?
Yeah.
close it again?
Yeah. What I'd like to see is how much daylight we see in the corners of the garage, and see if they're squeezing in through.
This just takes off a second to get off.
That side sealed. This side you have daylight coming in. You can put your finger in it.
So that's where they previously repaired it too, like.
Gotcha. And then does this door go into your backyard?
Yeah. Oh, just check the dogs aren't out there. And let me go make sure the dogs are through it, if you open it. All right, okay. They're inside, you can close that.
I can open this.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the dogs weren't out there though.
So that's the vent. They get this.
Yeah, those are so put that over.
When we moved in, there was like a couple of stray wires poking out.
Those are the ones that they can repair.
Yeah, they like pulled the wires out. Josh says that they were to Daily Mail or Daily Direct TV or something like that. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me because all the other wires were down in the front, but
It depends on who they're hired to do the internet or the cable. Sometimes they'll open for them instead of going to the
and they said that this vent has
Yeah. Oh yeah.
she just put those bags up. Those were not there when the bags were there. The report says that they found Norway rats and deer mice. A roof rat was caught because she showed me that the tail, it's like based on how long the tail is. So a roof rat was also caught. It wasn't noted in any of the reports, but it was caught.
Gotcha.
So we've got 2 known types of rats and deer.
I mean, Norway rat, I would be very surprised. You know, Norway rats typically are, we deal with them a lot when they're coming up from like sewage type situations. You know, they don't just live out in the trees. Roof rats do. So, I mean, are there any pictures of any of the rodents? Has anyone been doing?
I've been documenting.
You have pictures of them?
Oh yeah.
What I'll do is I'll get you my card.
Okay.
I'll have you send them to me. I'd like to see them.
Thanks.
Because I'd hate for you guys to think that we're dealing with a bunch of different species when really it's just one or two. You know?
There's 3 for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I am not an expert,
Yeah,
but based
yeah.
on what the Western exterminators
Yeah.
were showing me.
And they're great. They're great. I mean,
Yeah.
they're really good technicians. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and so what happens too with rodents is a lot of times it'll start out with a mouse infestation, which typically, you know, you keep seeing me shove my fingers in, so I'm looking for anywhere I can put my poopy tip in. because that's about the size of mouse we steal.
And were you able to do that over there with the?
In the left corner of the garage, yes. With this right corner of that door sweep, I can get the tip of my pinky in if I'm really pushing. Probably not going to be as used as that front garage door. Front garage door. I mean, the reason why I have you close the door so I can see daylight coming in. The right side is nice, tight, snug. Just that left side.
So if it's just the size of pinky, there's an area in the garage I'd like to show you, which is where we originally discovered all their droppings and the rodents like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
There's like a little alcove in there. It shares a wall with the internal space where they were nesting. And originally, I mean, it looks like there's a hole there. And if you're saying it only takes something the size of a pinky,
Yeah.
then absolutely they could be getting in there.
For a mouse, and so for like a roof rat or a Norwegian rat, about size of your.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Can I show you the spot?
I'm more than happy to see. And then what I'll end up doing too is, I primarily wanted to look at the hot spots that I know of the films, and then have you guys show me the top net grade, your windows, and then we'll probably do like a general walk around and just know anything else. But
So
mice and rats, to be honest, they're not very big on cohabitating with each other. A lot of times it's a mouse infestation, and then the rats move in behind them because rats will actually too. So
I didn't know they actually did that.
kind of the food chain.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
You see that?
In that corner right
Yeah, so I don't know if it was a TMO employee or who, but that was like kind of peeled up and somebody kind of pushed it down.
there? Yeah.
But like down under there, you can definitely.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
this is one of the places that I was telling you about up front. We were that they got caught at the very beginning of the
Yeah.
crash. Back there,
We should move this stuff.
and then on either side of the garage door.
yeah. Yeah. Well, so I'll tell you, when handling rodents, when dealing with rodents, coming in and tackling these small areas of sheetrock and drywall, 100% pointless. Because they can chew through this like butter if they want to. So really the whole point of resolving a rodent infestation is finding how they're getting in from the outside and then sealing up that, So, this is all good to know, but we don't, when we're trying to figure out how they're getting in, that means not a whole lot. It's good to know, so we know, where they're really coming in and out, but, we want to find holes like that when they're getting in from the outside. Because like I said, they can chew through this like no problem,
And we were more concerned about it just for the remediation part of it, as you were seeing the block
Yeah.
out front, like.
What else could, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
probably actually there, but that's good to know though.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, when we work with homes, all these wall voids, we consider inaccessible areas.
Mhm.
And so you kind of have to start to decide or put into a factor, when is it time to look in the walls, when is it, not time. Typically for me is when, you go in a house and there's black rub marks everywhere from rodents running around the cabinets and, there's droppings just all over the spot. Seeing the wall void, that is a decent amount of activity, but that's pretty common for Monterey County as a whole, We have a lot of nature. And so I mean, unless you guys are like, getting those rub marks are really big when we're looking for, severe infestations, because that tells me that multiple rodents keep rubbing in and out at the same spot,
Okay.
So when you start finding like black gray and blackish gray stains on, like the bottom of the baseboards and stuff, that's from the rodents running continuously back and forth. So if we're not seeing that, that tells me that it's not a severe infestation. They haven't been doing it for a long period of time. Mice, I would consider them almost like occasional invader on the inside of the house. Rats hardly come inside the house. Typically, they're going to be wall voids or the attic space in this situation. You guys have a concrete slab, so that eliminates half the possibility of them getting in.
Yeah, but we have caught rats in the house. The
Yes,
one that
and
was
I
on
definitely, what I'm
the
going to
road.
have you do is send me all that. I'd like to take a
Yeah.
look at it. Because, mice are going to be more ground level. They can climb, but roof rats, it's in their name. They're notorious for climbing, So I'm trying to eliminate,
Yeah.
what part of the house do we think they're getting in? Right now we found a couple potential possibilities ground level, which fits with mice, So.
So if there's droppings on a windowsill, that would more likely be a rat than a
No, definitely not saying that, I would need to see the droppings. I don't go based off of, because I'll tell you, I've seen animals do the craziest things, just just because they don't normally do it doesn't mean they won't do it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I'm trying.
I mean, we get calls on raccoons, you know, hanging out in someone's bathtub at 2 a.m. So we see some pretty random things, so I
Yeah.
can't say anything's
Yeah.
impossible anymore.
Yeah.
So then what about the wires inside? So AT&T cautioned us that it was going to need to be addressed in there so that the wires didn't continue to get chewed through. Apparently they put some sort of coating on them now. Are you aware of that? Like that some of these things are made with soy based. Like, I'm like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
That's why you get these newer cars and they get the wires chewed on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I'm hoping they decide to change that, you know, now
Yeah.
that they've learned that.
I know you're not gonna be able to see it as much as all the stuff that Windows on the inside there. That's what it was looking like multiple days when you were coming in. And then this is what
No, keep it up. Keep it up.
That's enough.
okay.
Up on the, that's a mouse?
Windows still.
That's a huge mouse, but yeah. That's
Ooh.
and same with the droppings. Those
So
droppings.
like, if that's a mouse, and then those little mice are,
Juvenile mice, most likely. Yeah.
so that's what those little gray ones grow up to be?
I mean, so out here, we just like there's different species of rats. There
Yeah.
are different species of mice.
Yeah,
You know,
'cause
we
like-
have field mice, we have the deer mice. So, you know, it's really hard to kind of just lump them. It's easy to lump them together,
Yeah.
I guess, but when you're looking at them, it's hard to differentiate.
Well, I've got some pretty good pictures of the little gray ones versus that one. Like that one looks more like a chinchilla, and the
Yeah.
little gray ones look like little gray mice. Like
Yeah, yeah.
a little gray mouse doesn't grow up to be that. Like, you know, they're not the
no,
same.
they're probably different species. I mean, if you look at the facial features and stuff. But I would say, you know, when you are coming into finding feces and stuff, one thing I always recommend is take a kind of a far out picture like that,
Mhm.
and then if you have like a penny or a dime, kind of put one next to it, and then
Okay.
take a closer picture.
Okay.
Because sometimes, you know, someone can say, oh, you know, I don't know if that's, you know, that could be just dust or something.
Mhm.
So, and then that allows me to really look and see, you know, what species are we
Oh, for
doing.
the droppings?
Yeah, I document. I'm a huge fan of documenting everything because it's documented.
Yeah.
It's documented.
So as far as the wiring, like, because that's my biggest concern is how do we know that they're not chewing through other wiring in there?
So, because most wiring is not gonna have that type of coating on it, you know. So, a lot of the old housing wires, I know this house isn't old, but a lot of those wires don't have that same coating as like the new cars nowadays, you know. So I'm not too concerned, you know, of it. Typically, when you have severe rat infestations, that's kind of when you start seeing multiple wires. So, to me, this seems like more of a mouse infestation. You guys might have caught a couple of rats. I'm not really concerned that they're living here. 'Cause typically what happens, it starts with a mouse infestation, then you'll get a couple rats that move in, and then the rats just totally overwhelm and conquer. And then it's just mainly rats. You're not seeing any mice. So, and it's not, you know, over a day or two. I mean, we're talking, you know, this is like a year's worth of activity. But it's to
That
me,
is more or less what we're seeing in the outside traps, though.
well,
It
there's
started with
I'll
mice
tell
and
you
now it's
outside,
rats.
there's tons of rats outside. I mean, roof rats are native. You know, you can't. I
Yeah.
mean, you could drop hundreds of pounds of poison all throughout the green belt, and you're still gonna have rats everywhere. They're good at surviving. You know.
So
Yeah.
just, I mean, what I'll do in the meantime, I'm assuming Joe, they would, you know, Park's gonna fix that up, but in the meantime, I'll just lay the traps around, tighter around there,
Yeah.
in case something runs through, and put a ring around it.
Yep. Luckily, mice and rats, I like to run along walls and stuff, so, you know, you guys have it good. I see people that come in and there's just traps kind of out in the middle of the room that does really nothing, so,
Yeah.
you know, doing that, the
Except
thing
for
about,
kids.
except the kids and pets, yep, which I'm sure they told you guys how to get them off. If you
Yeah,
did.
Yeah, we caught
Yeah.
a lot
Just
of
want to make sure
children
that
traps.
sometimes missed. And then, yeah, I would make sure the glue boards get changed probably more regularly than the snap traps, just because the dust gets on there and it ruins it.
Okay.
So Western's good about that. Is Brian your guy?
No, Francisco was coming.
Okay.
those days.
And Tim,
Tim is great. If you have Tim,
We'll
can't say
talk
enough
to-
good stuff about Tim. I've worked with Tim in the past. He's very well experienced, and I would take his word. You know.
he's the one who treated you with respect but talked to me like I was a 5-year-old little girl.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't-
That's all right. You're not his
Didn't
mom.
know. I do know though, as far as pests go, he does know his stuff, you know. So I mean, if he does give recommendations or you know he sees something, I definitely would take his word on it. He's been doing this a long time.
Well, we
Again-
followed all of their recommendations. This
Yeah.
is where they place the traps.
I'll say, whenever they come over, I'll mention replacing, because I mean, we have to do, these ones have been here for a pretty long time, so.
Yeah, I mean, and you can kind of see, I mean, especially when you have a little opening like that, because the wind just kind of blows stuff in, you get dead
Yeah.
bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
And then from what I've heard is, because you guys have a pet dog, right?
Yep.
So most of the time, mice or rats, they usually go for dog food, right?
Correct.
Yep, we keep
Yeah.
our dog food up, sealed
Okay.
away. We only feed
But
them twice
sometimes-
a day in a very
Yeah,
specific
because sometimes
manner.
if you change it from one location to another one,
Yeah.
that'll get the rats or mice mixed up, and they'll go through different paths where actually traps are.
Yeah, I mean, I would say when you're feeding the dog, you know, so when you're dealing with any sort of infestation, you know, again, mice, raccoons, skunk, whatever,
Yeah.
try to keep it on like a time schedule,
That's
you know,
what we do.
don't, because there's some people that have poor dogs who just let it be out all night, you know. Do, you know, monitored feeding,
We do.
you know, once daylight, and then it's kind of hard with the dog, cats a little easier, but same with the water. Water could be an issue too, that could be an attractant for them. Again, if we can figure out how they're getting in, none of this matters, you know, because as long as we keep them out, they're not gonna
Yeah.
find the water, but until then, you know, so.
I'll keep, you know, until somebody comes out and plugs this up, then I'll just I'll reset the sticky
Yeah.
traps and.
Yeah.
And then, Dan's also able to set up cameras, but I don't know how you guys feel about that.
How does that work? Like, because
So-
I've got minor children whose privacy.
Yeah,
is very
no,
important.
100%. I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, so when we do cameras, we put cameras up in situations where people think that they might still be hearing noises, but they're not too sure. And we've caught rodents, but we haven't caught rodents in a long time. And so when we put cameras up, they're typically in areas where people can't get, like an attic space or a sub area. And then we do that so we can see if there is still activity. Now, this situation is a little different because you guys are more so seeing it in the living space, and I personally would not want to set up a camera in any living space. You know, our cameras are live feed, you know, so that again is a huge issue.
That's a huge violation for minor children because
Totally, yeah, no, I wouldn't want to set it up in a living space, and it sounds like the attic space isn't a huge issue anyhow.
Not that we know of,
Yeah.
we haven't seen
Yeah.
any, I mean, haven't had any indications up
Yeah.
there, but mostly concerned about, you know, we were most concerned about the kitchen, living room area
Yeah.
back there when it was going on, but seems like we haven't seen, you know, signs of those in just a little bit,
Good.
we caught those other ones, but major concern now, and I guess like you said, this one where they could still be getting through, and then
Yeah.
kind of what had already happened behind the walls, you know, making sure that gets cleaned out for the health effects there.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you recommend as far as, you know, like in the wall space, like in that box out there, would that
Yeah.
do anything to put a camera there to see if there's?
I mean, it would be really hard. We can take a look at it again before I go and see if I can, you know, wham a camera in there. Our cameras are in pretty decent shape, so. we
could you
did-
like drop it into the, because that's an open wall cavity. Could you like drop it in on a string or?
So, I mean, I might be able to, but I'm gonna have a hard time controlling the angle. So it's kind of whatever the angle that, you know, the camera's just kind of sitting in. I'm more than happy to try.
Okay,
You know, we can
yeah.
that's definitely an option.
Because I'm
yeah.
fine with that. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna be.
Yeah, no,
You know.
well, I mean, I'd be pretty surprised if we got someone crawling through your wall, which would be fun, you guys, right? And honestly, though, what you guys are kind of describing is what we see when the hole has been found and it's been sealed off, and you guys are catching the residual rodents that were left inside.
Okay.
That's, you know, an exclusion. So what I'm looking at is for an exclusion, which it sounds like Western or the Parks has already been kind of doing for you guys. And that's an exclusion is when we evict the rodents, it's when we seal it up, no new rodents can get in. Technically, the rodents that are already in are stuck in. And that will kind of spur up their activity. You'll see them start popping up in areas you maybe weren't seeing them before, which could explain a little bit why you guys are seeing them, you know, in different parts of the house. Because, you know, they're trying to get out, they realize they're not. You're gonna trap like a rat's an expression for a reason. And so what'll happen is once you seal up that hole, you kind of get this random burst of activity in different spots. You guys are freaking out because you're thinking it's getting worse, when really it's actually getting, that's just the peak of it starting to get better, you know? And you start getting traps set, and then you kind of start catching them in waves. And it slows down, and then all of a sudden you just start catching them. And that's usually the end game for an exclusion, which, to be honest, what you guys have explained kind of sounds like that. Just by your explanation, which is great. That is
So
a
how long does an exclusion generally take?
Well, when the house is sealed up, the one thing about rodents, you know, you could see in that little box, there was like little pieces of acorn and stuff.
Yeah.
Rodents can bring food in and they store it in their nest. So when we do an exclusion for larger animals, raccoons and skunks and stuff, when we seal it up, we're cutting off their food and water. And so we know they have to go to their trap within about 7 days. Mice and rats are a little different because they have a little bit of extra food. Plus, rats tend to be cannibalistic in those situations, so they can really
So they're
lack.
just inside the walls, just feasting. They've got
They-
everything they need
they-
for the winter.
They could be. Again, I'm not too concerned about the rats. I think it's probably the rats are more of a anomaly. You know, I think you're really dealing with mainly a mouse infestation, and the rats probably aren't nesting in here. They're probably nesting somewhere outside. They're probably coming in trying to get a quick meal. You know, but it.
And they know exactly where to find them because they're all nested up in that little.
Mother Nature, you know, and that's the downside to living kind of out here in the foothills. With a lot of wildlife. You know, you guys from mice in the walls to mountain lions walking down the road. You know, I mean, we've got it all out there. But in my opinion, it does sound like you guys are in the right direction.
Okay.
I mean, without you guys, you know, directly telling me, it sounds like an exclusion has already been started and the process has already begun.
So they could start cleaning out the internal walls.
My personal opinion is it's great to do that anyhow. Once everyone has seen it and it's documented,
Yeah.
that should be one of the first things so we can monitor how much activity is going on in there.
So we can just start, like, it can be done now. It can be cleaned out now.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Good, so we don't have to keep waiting. That's good. Okay.
Is it still open or did you lock it back up?
Oh, we can
Okay,
put it back
because I
up.
was saying I'd like to take a picture too of it.
It's just this screwdriver.
I mean, do you guys have any other questions? Any
I've got-
questions that
yeah.
maybe you wanted to ask?
I saw one that I'm total curiosity.
Yeah.
So, you know, on the thing that windows the glass kept coming up?
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Why is it, all the places, like, kept coming up there? And everywhere, like, everywhere down there, one thing, like, yeah.
Well, you know, that kind of boils down to the exclusion, you know? If you guys have found, or Western has found how they got in already and sealed it up, and it's looking for alternative ways out, if it's getting any sort of light from outside the window,
Out up there, like this.
thinks it's maybe a potential way out.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we have in the past.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes total sense at night.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I get out of
Yeah.
here?
And it, I mean,
That
and
makes sense.
animals, I mean, they're one of those things to where we might not be able to hear any sort of breeze through it. Especially rodents, they have
Yeah.
really great.
Well, it makes sense because it's just like the droppings are all along the entire window.
It's just trying to get out.
That makes so much more sense.
Which, you know, I
I
mean, I
might
know
feel bad
for
for the poor thing.
your kid's room, you know, so you probably don't want to put a trap up there, but if that was continuing to happen, I'm just going to take these up for a second. I want to take a picture of that. I'm going to grab my phone. I'll grab a card so you guys can send me some pictures too.
Okay.
Before Mr. Seawagen is going to talk about it, I would like hard to talk, I do have some other appointments.
Okay.
But I'll communicate with Joe. I do have a few things that that he found, and then I'll follow up with Joe to see the personal conversation that takes place.
Okay.
Look, Dan looks like, definitely sounds like he knows what he's doing, and I'm glad he's here.
Yeah.
So if you have any concerns or anything,
So it sounds like they'll be able to start the remediation. Like when do you think when do we need to plan for that? Because Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So I gotta talk to the vendor, and I don't know if you guys are gonna need to get displays or if we could do the work inside. That's something that we need to talk to the vendor about.
Oh no, displaced? No, we're not getting displaced. Like
Yeah.
if they're just gonna do this area, originally what they said was,
That's closet, right?
yeah, like this, like that area, they would just put a containment sheet up right there, so we wouldn't have access to the laundry room, all that. And it's like, if I don't have access to my laundry, okay, that's fine. I cannot move my kids again, emotionally, psychologically, because if we get moved out of this house, that restarts a trauma cycle of, are we going to get to go home? Because we did not want to leave that house. I don't know if anybody is tracking. I did not want to leave Mervine. I do not want to even live in this house. I hate this house. We are the lowest ranking people on this entire block. And so we're the low man here, and we didn't want to be here. We can't socialize with any of our neighbors because they're above our rank, and we wanted to stay in Irvine. So the fact that my kids have already had to reacclimate to being down here and what all the things that come with that, I cannot move them out of the house again. If we move out of it, if we dislocate from this house, we're leaving, like gone.
All right, let me talk to the vendors and see what we could do. Because I know Jose Avila was here and he told me there was going to be one closet that we could.
Yeah, like there was a pretty clean door right there where you could just, I can show you where it is. They just put containment up right there, and then we still have access to the kitchen, we still have access to everything, and they access everything from this side in. So from the garage side, or even they come in the garage, and everything can be contained that way. There's no bathrooms there or nothing. I mean, the washer and dryer, but I'll go to the laundromat. Like, I don't.
Is it alright if I walk around a little bit on the
Yeah,
outside?
for sure. Yeah. Do you want to see all the traps that they set?
Yeah, so these the boxes right here?
Yeah, they've got 2 here.
So are those traps or is that rodenticide? Oh, the sun trap.
I think there's some sort of chemical in there because every time they come, Mr. Timble or Tim.
Yeah.
And then there's one over here.
I mean, the good thing about these homes again is that we don't, the ground level's not really an issue as if it had a sub area.
Yeah.
You guys don't have any trees touching the roof. And so, I mean, it really does narrow it down quite significantly.
Once they started laying these traps, they started catching stuff pretty regularly.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, it's,
Well, and I know all of our neighbors in this area have these problems. They all just handle it their own way because some don't have small kids or small pets.
Yeah.
So there's one.
yeah, I mean, the only thing I could see, and it's not an issue, and I would never tell you guys to take it down, but the lights.
Yeah.
That's one thing, because something from this back bush can jump up on this fence and run up that, and now they have access to the top fence.
Yeah.
If that was moved down,
I'll take it down today. It's done.
it's just one less thing,
Yeah.
you know? And obviously, once everything gets better, feel free, you guys can, but that's just really the only thing that would give them access up there. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's exactly what's happening, but
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll tell you roof rats, that's the primary way of getting on roofs is running
Yeah.
wires.
But even if they get up, don't they have to be able to get in?
They would have to be able to get in, yeah.
So, I mean, that would be the first thing, identifying where they were getting in. But
Yeah,
like,
which could have been that vent.
but that's, so like, how would a roof rat, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just trying to logically,
No.
if they use this and they run up,
Yeah.
how are they going to get from there to that vent? Because that lift,
Yeah, so I'll tell you this. So they could get on this wire and a roof rat can jump forward.
Really?
Yeah. So a roof rat can jump from that wire onto that white ledge. And they can climb up that stucker no problem whatsoever.
and they know it from scent.
Like you saw.
So that's actually a good point. If they're accusing these to run up there
Yeah.
and then they were jumping in. But now that it's been patched, shouldn't theoretically we not have to take them down? Because
You shouldn't have to. It's just purely a suggestion. It's just
Yeah.
purely a suggestion. You know, I mean, sometimes you people just, you've had enough. And you're like, I just want to do kind of everything on the front. Because really, there's nothing else allowing them to get on your roof. And
So they could tightrope that all the way up there?
oh, better than I could walk on the sidewalk. I mean, I'm not
Mhm.
joking. They're great at it. Yeah.
which like it totally makes sense. It's only an issue if there's somewhere to get in up there. But I don't want to give them any extra.
Yeah, I mean, and here's my thing, and it's definitely not an issue, it's just how all the homes are out here. I'm not a huge fan of tile roofs. Tile
Yeah.
roofs just give them a spot to hang
Like
out
that, yeah.
on the outside. Yeah. Not saying that it gives them access inside the house,
Yeah.
but less things that you have allowing them up on your roof, in my opinion, the better.
Yeah.
So, again, not saying you have to take it down, but just food for thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, I mean, you're looking right here. If you stand right here on this trail, I bet you if you look hard enough, you can find rats just naturally built up at the base of trees and
Yeah.
stuff,
You can tell this is a game trail.
Yeah, you probably get a lot of deer and stuff
Yeah.
up through here.
This is where they.
Yeah, I mean,
Somebody had put a bunch of branches here.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the last residents or them just trying to like dissuade, because there's a homeless encampment not that far that way. Yeah. Apparently it's on Monterey County line. They broke into some of the properties down by the mini mart and were in there just squatting. The police were called, but I think somebody put branches here just to kind of limit human traffic.
Yeah.
So. But it looks
Yeah.
like the animals have moved it down, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of natural food for everything. I mean, you got pine cones, you got sweet corn, you got roots, you got insects. So, I mean, like I said, there's going to be no shortage of rodents.
Yeah.
I think once the inside issue has completely been resolved, you guys aren't seeing anything, aren't hearing anything, you guys are content with it, I would still recommend keeping the outside service going.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have to have it done as frequent. You know, I don't know how often they're coming out here.
We do them twice a week now, Monday.
That's
and
great.
Thursday.
Man, that's great. That's a lot. That's
Well, because
great.
they could always, after we get the inside, they could always just do the outside whenever. It doesn't have to be at 5:15. We do 5:15 so that I don't have to take off work. He can be home from work and they can go inside and check it.
Yeah.
But outside, do whatever you want to do.
Show up and
I
do
don't-
it. Yeah. So I think with the traps, I think they can do like bi-weekly on those if I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can ask them about it. Which again, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, for the most part, again, in my opinion, it sounds like you guys are totally headed in the right direction.
That's good.
It really does. I mean, you guys described everything without me even having to ask. The couple of things that could be issues, I would probably look at, you know, garage door, maybe the back door sweep, you know, maybe go with something a little bit more solid instead of that rubber sweep. I don't know if you guys have anything else like a wood door sweep you guys could put. It's just, you can kind of start to put the tip of your pinky on the right side, and because it's rubber, it just flexes, you know, so it's kind of, and then just the lights being potential, you know, not an issue, but it gives squirrels and rats and mice access to your roof. So
Could-
everything else is pretty secure.
If a rodent got into the vent system, could they use that? Like, how do they get from downstairs to upstairs on the inside?
The walls. Yeah, they can climb up and down the wall. So the way, again, you have wires and pipes running through the walls.
Yeah.
And again, if there's just, put your pinky or
So,
thumb
but then
on.
where do they come out though? Just like,
They'll come out from underneath, like in the garage, how you saw the sheetrock, you know,
Yeah.
went down, and there's kind of that gap. They can squeeze through there. They can chew holes behind spots. The reason why you see them a lot in like bathrooms and kitchens and stuff,
Yeah.
because they're popping out behind appliances, like where your washer, dryer, dishwasher,
yeah.
refrigerator, all that stuff.
That's
you
what
know?
I'm trying to figure out. It's just like, how did they get up into our daughter's room?
Because that was the only, it was weird, that was the only place we had ever seen drop. And
I mean, you know, it could have. You guys have heating vents.
Yeah.
Could have. Not saying. But
Well, that's what's so weird is right above the window
Uh-huh.
where all the droppings were one night
Yeah.
is right below a heating vent.
Well.
And then our daughter's room where the window sill was is right above. So in my mind, I was like, well, if I was a rat, how do I get from there to there without hopping down, going all the way upstairs, getting through the baby gates, which I know a rat can get through a baby gate, getting through her closed door, and then getting up onto it's like of all the places it would have gone, why wouldn't it try to get out the bathroom window?
That place makes sense. Like you said, if the roof wasn't for no Jennifer calling through there to see the light.
Yeah, I mean, or
So
go
instead
to,
of
you know,
heating vent.
it's just, unfortunately, it's really, we'll never know, unfortunately.
But
I
they
mean,
can get into those heating vents and use the heating vents.
Well, they can if they chew through a duct or something, you know. I mean, it doesn't have to be big, and I'm not saying they're nesting in it, but
yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's how they could.
it's just we don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things where most of the home is inaccessible in the walls, but
Yeah. Okay.
sounds like you guys are staying on it and are diligent. Sounds like the Parks and Western's doing it, and you know, I mean, to me, it sounds like Western has probably found how they got in, and that's why you guys have had that boom shortly after.
So now we can just clean it and hopefully get those last couple out.
Just keep monitoring, keep the traps set. I would say, you know, I like to keep the traps going for like 4 weeks after we caught the last one. Because if you haven't caught anything in 4 weeks, it's fair to say, and you're not seeing anything, it's safe to say that they're empty, you know?
Yeah.
And ask Tim for his honest opinion. Tim taught me a lot, so he knows his stuff. But you guys have my number too.
Okay.
You know, and the Parks can get a hold of me. It's just I'm a very small company compared to Western, and we're open 24 hours a day, and we're not, you know, besides rodents, we're dealing with, you know, raccoons and mountain lions and wild pigs and all sorts of stuff. So we get a lot of emergency calls. That was why I couldn't make it out here the last time a raccoon had gotten inside someone's house. And this morning we were dealing with an injured deer. So it's just,
Aw.
but we're more than happy to help.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So So we're just making a determination on where to put those cameras on the internal wall, or just the option is put a camera in the internal wall, or just start the remediation and address it.
What I would say is this: is if you guys those droppings get picked up and you still find new droppings in there, I can go ahead. We can fandangle a camera down there because it's going to be a tight fit. I mean, I'm going to have to really move some stuff around to get our camera to fit down there.
So just open the walls up, clean it out, get rid of the nest, get rid of the debris, get rid of the food sources. And
Yeah, I mean,
later.
something like this. So personally, how we do stuff like that is we vacuum accessible feces, and then what we do is we use a fogger to put a sanitizing, deodorizing hospital agent inside the wall, and it spreads and it gets all over whatever's inside, any nesting debris, and you know, so that way we don't have to tear apart the house.
So you leave the nesting debris and stuff in there. But what would you do if somebody was medically sensitive to rodents?
Whatever the doctor recommends at that point. I'm
Okay.
not a doctor,
Okay.
so I mean, if the doctor says one thing,
Yeah, doctors generally say to clear the entire.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what medical issue, and again, I'm not any
Yeah.
sort of medical person,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'll stay in my lane and
Yeah.
you know, smart. I'm trying to be like that. But that's typically how we do it in minor situations.
Okay.
You know, so.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you coming out.
As I said, I didn't happen to catch your name.
Autumn.
Hi, Autumn.
Nice to meet
I'm Dan.
you. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Dan.
Yeah. No problem.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Joe. I'll call you later. Again, if you guys have questions, feel free to send me those rodents.
I
I
would-
would like to see just to see what species.
Okay.
And if you need us to do anything, Joe, let us know. But it seems pretty well contained, honestly, in my opinion. It doesn't seem severe at all. All right.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any questions for me?
I guess just the next question you still got when that remediation would take place, and yeah, I guess just the plans for that, you know, that, and then also that space over there, just letting us know, you know, who's coming back when, what the plan is for closing that up.
I'll go talk to Rod right now because he's the one that's going to be here at 5:15.
Yeah.
I'll see if we could keep one of those guys a little bit over so that they could come and see if we could address those little gaps today.
Okay. The last thing that I guess I get concerned about is he was talking about the vent and exposure to the vent, because I mean, to me that seems like the only thing that makes sense as far as how it appears up at the top. Like, I know what he said, we'll never know, but you know, as far as Autumn's allergies and stuff, if there was exposure in the vents, I'm concerned about that. So
you're asking for like a vent clean?
yeah.
Which I have documented medical. I have an autoimmune condition, and every so many months, so many years, my immune system just triggers with a new allergen. We had no idea I was allergic to rodents until I ended up in the ER on October 15th. They did another panel and it came back positive for rodents. So as soon as I found out, I immediately disclosed it to Army Housing. I immediately disclosed it to TMO. This is not a game of gotcha. With our mold situation, I knew I had a mold allergy. When Rochelle Johnson, Lisa Clemente, and Dave White were in my house, and I said, hey, like, I'm allergic to mold, so just, you guys, you have all this great information on your website about your SRT team and how you remediate and how you do it quick and how blah, blah, blah. I trusted them to do the right thing, and I provided them my medical documentation in writing. Like, in writing. I even sent it to Rochelle with permission for her to send it to Julian. So that all was like transparent. I never hid that, and I'm not hiding this. As soon as I get information, I give it to you guys. And so what you choose to do with it, what your company chooses to do with it, that's on you guys. But you have the information. This isn't a gotcha thing. And it sucks. Like, trust me, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have an autoimmune condition. I'm the one who has to live with it all day. Like, I have to wear a brace just so I can stand up straight because it's so debilitating. Like, so I apologize for being nasty. I'm in a lot of chronic pain, and I'm just trying to get through my days and, like, eradicate triggers from my house as much as I can. And if I could solve it on my own, I would. But, like, the toilets in that house, I could never have solved that. I could never have prevented the leaking sewage. Like, I can clean the surface as much as I can clean, but I can't get to the rodents in the walls. I can't get to the rodents in the vents. Like,
Yeah, that would be the other thing. I think that covers about everything. And you know, the other thing that I just got besides the gonna say whatever they're gonna say for covering tracks about it being action, whatever. It's pretty clear anybody looking at that does anything. And so if you can relay that back, I'll put it in writing too. But I've got a concern that was even like something that nobody thought there would be an issue with maybe showing up and coming into a house for a family who's just damaged their property. And I have concern that he's doing the same thing at other houses too. They don't have cameras. What's anybody not seeing, you know?
And he did that with an expired license. Not that that seems to matter to anybody, but like, he didn't even want to present his license that day, and the only reason he did is because he saw you do it, and he's like, oh, well, if Jose's going to do it, then I guess I have to do it. And then he shows me his license, and it's expired by 6 weeks. It's like, how do we even know that you're actually an employee? I mean, if you weren't there, if I was by myself, because I trust you, you seem like a very nice guy, you seem like you probably have a family, you can probably tell that I'm not, like, I can be reasonable, but like if I'm scared, if a person is scared, they do unpredictable things, and that man scares me. So like he's in my home multiple times without ID. He's telling the movers, she's just like, you think that they don't tell me what you guys say? I know how negatively everybody in the maintenance place talks about me. Oh, you're crazy Alaskan friend. Like, I don't care, but it's like, this is my safe place. This is where I live. And if men have unfiltered access to my home, that scares me. Dave White was giving a master key to just random people to enter at will. How do I know that they're not going through my personal belongings? How do I know that like my kids and I are safe in these homes? So when men get away with like that type of behavior and other men don't say anything, they're only going to escalate because you don't know what they do when you're not there. If they can get away with a little bit when people are watching, think about how much they'll get away with when no one's watching.
All right, so I will talk to Roger right now, see if we could get the repairs done at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And then I'll start working on see when we can do the cutting the walls.
And the bank thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would probably be after we finish off the remediation.
Okay.
Yeah. And to do the banking. And for the banking, they typically take about 4 hours. So they usually either come in the morning, 8 to 12, or else they come in the afternoon from 1 to 5.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. We appreciate you coming out.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I appreciate you're a good guy, and I appreciate it. And I really appreciate when we were moving out of the house, he's putting everything in those boxes with totes, and it helped him get them cleaned. And
Yeah,
I do appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
thanks.